Welcome to this video. This is Blender to print rapid architectural prototyping. The 3D printing allows you to prototype early on in your project, and you don't need a final design to start testing out different ideas. So Blender is free, it's open source, and it's powerful enough for professional modeling. So you can access Blender from blender.org, and you can download it for Mac or PC. So we're inside Blender right here. We're going to click in the workspace. I'm going to press A on my keyboard, which selects everything. But you could go to select and you could choose select all, and you can see the key shortcut there. And I'm going to press X on my keyboard to delete, and then you could select delete. Okay, so we got rid of everything. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our file is ready for 3D printing. So the quickest way to do that is to use the preferences over here. So we're inside of the scene properties, and we're going to click on the units. They need to be metric, and the unit scale should be 0.001. And the length should be millimeters, and that's the unit setup. We also want to change the way we see the workspace, so we can do that right here in the overlays, in the viewport overlays. So we're going to make this scale the same as well. So this is 0.001. Enter. Okay, so now we can see more of the grid, and that's looking good. All right, so let's talk about navigation inside of Blender. Okay, so we have the ability to orbit, so you can see my screencast, my mouse button presses and my key presses here. So if I hold down my middle mouse button, I can orbit around the space. If I hold the shift key and the middle mouse, I can pan. Okay, I can zoom in by scrolling the middle mouse button. I can scroll in and out. You can kind of do a lot of these things with these tools here. So we can orbit using the X and Y axis right here. We can use the pan tool. We just click on that button and start to drag. Okay, and we can zoom in and out as well. Okay, so let's get this roughly back into position. Okay, so inside of Blender, I know that we've just deleted the default cube, but if we wanted to add a mesh, maybe a UV sphere, something like that, if I press the point on the numerical keyboard, I can zoom in to that object. So if you selected something, you need to find it. So we can orbit around this. Now we have these useful tools at the side, so we can move these objects in 3D space by clicking on the XYZ axes. We can also rotate the object with this tool. We can scale as well, so we can select the circle. We can scale it. We can scale it in the Y. We can scale it in the X, and we can scale it in the Z. Okay, so we have these very useful tools that are in place, and we'll be looking at these more in subsequent videos. Okay, so for this session, I actually have a file which you can download. So at the bottom of this video, you'll see in the more information, you'll see a link to the Blender file that I'll be using in this session. So I'm going to open this one. Okay, and I'm not going to save this. All right, so in this file, the units have already been set up. So it's 0.01 millimeters, and the viewport overlays also. So it's all ready for you. But the addition of a few objects in this file is going to help us. So we've got a couple of scale figures. Okay, so this is 1:50 scale. And these are going to help us to make a simple model that we can send through to the Bambu Labs A1 Mini 3D printer. Okay, so You'll also be able to download Bambu Labs Studio, which looks like this. Okay, and this is where we're going to set up our files to print. So it's free to download this application so you can set up your files. But we will also have this installed on the university computers, and so is Blender as well. So it's all ready for you to use, and if you're using your home machine, you'll be able to download these applications and use them to get started. So the idea of this video is to create a simple booth in which human beings could sit in to study, to have a meeting, or to eat, or something like that. A very simple shape that we can print out. So that looks something like this. So I printed this model out in both 1:50 scale and 1:20 scale, which really lets us think about the space and the volumes and the experience that our users might be having in the space. And this is a great starter, a great introduction to Blender, and potentially modeling some useful 3D printed objects that you can include as part of your model making projects. Okay, so let's get started with our booth. So we're going to, inside of Blender, I'm going to change the view. I'm going to click here on -Y, which I could also use the number 1 on the numerical keyboard. So I could snap to this view. This is orthographic view, okay, which you can see symbolized here. And what I'm going to do is add a plane to my project. So the key shortcut for that, we could either go to add mesh plane, or I could use the key shortcut, which is Shift A, and then I can choose plane. Okay, so we've got a little tiny plane right there. Now I'm going to rotate this on the red line, the x-axis. So I'm going to press R to rotate. I'm going to rotate on the x-axis, and I'm going to type 90. Okay, so that when we are looking at this orthogonally, we can see there's the plane turned up in the direction that we want it to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is scale this up a fair bit. And just as a note, I also have these snaps turned on for us to more easily model this shape. Okay, so these snaps up here can be modified, and the file that you've downloaded, the snaps will be turned on, and it's set to grid. Okay, to turn the snaps on and off, you just select here. But the snaps are really going to help, because a big concept that's very important to get our heads around inside of Blender is that we have objects like these people and this 3D text and this plane. But every object we can explore with 2 modes. We have object mode, and we also have edit mode. And edit mode allows us to modify individual vertices, edges, and faces. Okay, and you can press 1, 2, 3 on your keyboard to swap between those. Now we're going to predominantly work on the vertices. Okay, so I'm going to select these 2 vertices, and I'm going to move them. I could use the move tool, and I'm going to move them up to about here, and I'm going to select these, and I'm going to move them, and you can see everything is snapping into place, which is quite good. Let's get that a little bit taller. Okay, right, so we've sort of got a nice booth shape. Maybe this gives this just a bit more space. Let's go to here, and let's make it sure it's the same on this side as well. Okay, so that's snapping in. Okay, so one of the things I'd like to add to this plane is a little bit more geometry. So I'm going to add some more vertices here. And a really great way to do that is to add a loop cut. So you can press Ctrl R. And if you hover through the center, you can see that yellow line. And that's going to split the geometry, and you can move that loop cut along the geometry. But if you press escape, it will snap back to where it was, and that's good because I want to select just this vertex and this. Let's just zoom out a little bit, reposition. Okay, so I'm going to grab this vertex and I'm going to make a little pitch on the roof just here, and maybe I'll select all three of these vertices and let's bring that down just a touch, something like that. I'm going to press Ctrl and A, and I'm just going to apply the scale. So now you can see the scale is 1, okay, which is really how I want it to be. We have applied the scale of this plane. I am now inside of edit mode going to select everything by pressing A, and I'm going to inset. Okay, so there's a tool here, inset faces. Okay, so this is my inset faces, and you can see I'm using the tool to inset the faces by eye. But before we click anything else after doing an inset, we have some extra options that appear down here. Now, it might look more like this on your screen, but if you open that up, you can see that we can put in a specific dimension. So I'm going to put in 1 millimeter. Now, the reason I'm putting in 1 millimeter is because for the 3D printer, if I want to do a really quick print, I can print sort of thin objects, thin walls, but there is a limit to that. So I'm going to recommend to you that if you're creating files and you want them to print out, the walls or parts of the mesh that you want to print, they must be at least 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters thick. So let's go for 1 millimeter. This is going to work really well. Okay, so I've done a bunch of tests, and this is going to work well for us. Now, we've got this sort of booth shape is starting to come together, so I'm also going to remove these faces just here. So I'm going to press X, and I'm going to get rid of the faces. So we've got this sort of shape going on here. But now we do have an opportunity to add a modifier. So I'm going to go to the modifier panel, modifier properties, and I'm going to hit the plus, and I haven't clicked anything. I'm hovering over the search, and I'm going to search for a modifier called solidify, and there it is. Okay, so I'm going to add a solidify modifier to this plane that we've modified. Okay, so you can imagine this might be a wooden frame. So let's change the thickness to about 15 millimeters, and I'm going to have the thickness come out from both sides. So I'm pressing 0. Okay, so now we've got a nice sort of frame structure going on there. That looks good. And if you're happy with a modifier, you can turn them on and off. But if you're happy with them, you can apply them. But you can only apply them if you are in object mode. Okay, so there's object mode. And let's apply this modifier. Now, this shape is the right size for my booth. Okay, so this looks good. And this is something straight away I could send through to the 3D printer if I wanted to. Okay, so let's do that right now. Let's go to File and Export and choose STL. Okay, which is a really good file type to go through to the 3D printer. So I'm going to give this a name. Let's call it booth frame. 01. And I'm going to make sure that I'm only exporting the selection only. So I'm going to make sure this is got a name. I know where I'm saving it, and export. Okay, so let's test that out. Let's go into Bambu Studio, and here we are in a brand new clear project. I have the Bambu Lab A1 Mini. In our studio, we have the Bambu Lab A1 and the Bambu Lab A1 Mini, and we've got a couple of those. Let's add, so import the STL that we just created. So there it is, booth frame 01, open. And there it is on the bed. So if I use my left mouse button, I can rotate around. So we could print this as is, just like that. We could slice the plate, and is sliced okay. And according to Bambu Studio, there is no problems with this file, which you think maybe there would be. Maybe it needs support for the roof, but because it's pitched, it's just fine. Okay, so once you've sliced a model, you know how long it's going to take on the printer. So it says here 27 minutes, 27 seconds. Okay, it's telling us it's going to use 0.95 meters of the PLA filament, and that equals 2.84 grams. Okay, so that's 27 meters. But can we improve this? So one of the things we could do is we could rotate this, let's say 90. Okay, and we'll have it flat. So let's slice this and see. Okay, so check this out. Right, so we're still using the same amount of material, of course. Okay, but you can see the printing time is a third. So it's only 10 minutes, 49 seconds if we were to print this out. So we could send this to print, and it would be printed in 10 minutes and 49 seconds. Oh, we do have, that's the model printing time. Total time is 17 minutes 39, which is to do with the printer head, the printer nozzle warming up, and the bed warming up, and doing the bed leveling and all of those things. Okay, so you can see it's a lot quicker depending on how you print it. Okay, so let's go back to prepare, and let's delete this for a moment, because I think we can do more with our file inside of Blender. Okay, so let's have a look. Right, so it's great to have the scale people inside of the model. That really helps. Well, it helps us to get everything in proportion. So let's have a look at some different tools that might help us to model some more information. Something that might be quite good could be let's add a seat, and let's add a table. Okay, so let's start with the seat. So I'm going to use this tool here, add a cube. All right, so let's move around here. Let's start with the seat. So, and this tool is fantastic. It lets us draw on the surface, click and drag. And I've got my snaps on, which is quite good. And I'm going to draw a cube, and then I'm going to drag it up, something like that. Okay, once I've done that, I can go into edit mode. And okay, so we've got quite a nice looking seat, and let's modify this a little bit. So we could select this edge, and we could move it. Okay, so let's use the move tool. Let's bring this out a little bit. Now something like that, and let's do the same here. Now it might be the case that you want to turn off the snaps at this point, and that's okay. You can do that. Now I'm going to select the face of this seat. So I'm going to imagine that the seat is slightly cushioned, and I'm going to have it sort of intersecting with the figure. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Something like that. Okay, we've got very sharp edges, but we're going to sort that out in just a moment. So let's go back into object mode and let's add let's turn on the snaps here. Okay, let's snap that way. Okay, so I'm going to just put in a block here. And let's go into edit mode on this one. All right, so I'm going to use the face select. So I'm going to select that bottom face. And I'm going to move that down a little bit. And let's select this face and bring that up. Something like that. Okay. And I think that's looking pretty good. I think let's go back into edit mode. So you can quickly toggle between edit mode and object mode with the tab key on your keyboard, which is next to the Q key. So I'm going to use the selection tool to select this object. And we got the snaps on, so let's see. Yeah, we got that completely flush now, which is really good. All right, so we have this object. Let's add in a table as well. So we'll use this add cube tool again. Okay, and that's snapping into position nicely. Okay, and we're just going to take this part up here and what I need to do is make sure that I'm back in object mode, because otherwise it's going to be joined. Right, so we're now going to add a table using the add cube tool. We are in object mode and it's snapping to the center, something like that. Okay, and I'm toggling into edit mode so that we can make some changes here. So let's have a look straight on. And another useful tool is we can use X-ray tool to make sure we select all the edges that we want. So there's two vertices at the front facing me, but there will be two vertices at the back, and I want to make sure I've got all of those. So X-ray mode, make sure that that I do have that. So let's move these objects. So we could use the move tool to do that. Okay, so these are snapping into place. Let's select this one. Okay, so all of these grids that we set up in the first place, they're all like snapping to a single millimeter, which is really useful. And to make sure we're getting the thickness just right. Now you can see that these shapes are obviously more than a millimeter thick, which is going to be fine. But this table, this stand here holding up the table is needs to be fairly strong, and it will be, so it'll be strong enough for our model. So I'm going to add a loop cut like we did at the beginning. So I'm going to press Control R, and I'm going to add a loop cut in there. And the reason I'm doing that is because now I can select this face, and let's go back to head on. I can extrude out. So the tool for extrude is here, but you can just press E on your keyboard to extrude. And I'm just going to extrude the table out something like that. Okay, so now this is the shape that we have, and I'm intentionally modeling half of this because we're going to mirror the other half. Now, a very useful tool that I want to highlight is I'm going to bevel these corners because they're looking particularly sharp. So shift click those corners, and I'm going to press Control B, and as I roll down the screen I can add some geometry to make these nice bevels. Now I'm using the middle mouse to increase those bevels, okay, but if I click on those and I don't click on anything else, you can see the bevel options appear in the bottom left corner. Okay, so we've got some good controls here. Now generally I like to make the bevels even, so I'm going to go with 4 segments. Okay, so something like that. Okay, that looks good. Right, let's turn off X-ray mode and let's have a look. Okay, so we have all of these. All right, let's bevel these two, but in a slightly different way. So these two objects, I'm going to quickly join them together. So I'm going to press Control J, and that makes them into one object. So the seat is this one here. I'm going to rename this. So I'm going to call this seat. And let's make this desk. Okay, and this is our booth frame. Okay, that's good. It's always good to keep everything named and organized. Right, so we have this object. Let's add a modifier for this. So if we choose bevel, okay, we have the bevel modifier, and you can see what the bevel modifier is doing is it's adding a bevel to all these shapes, and we can make them nice and round. Okay, so with the modifiers, they keep the original geometry intact, so you can turn them off and on again. Okay, so that bevel modifier looks good, so I'm going to press apply, and that's done. Okay, so these two, this object and this object, I'm going to join now. So I'm going to press Control J, and now they're one thing. So I might choose the name and desk. Ooh. Okay, so seat and desk. So I want to apply a modifier to both of these. So I'm going to choose mirror. There we go. We are mirroring. Obviously, that is not looking the way we want it to. So we are going to turn the X off. And we're going to choose the object. There we go. So now that it's mirroring using the frame. Okay, so we have a mirror object. That's the frame. And that's making sure the desk and the seat are exactly where they need to be. Okay, so that's looking really good. This is ready to print. So, and this time we're going to print this with the guy inside. Okay, so we need to apply all the modifiers. Now, important things to know about printing on the 3D printer is that all of these meshes are manifold, which means that they're kind of watertight. There isn't any holes, there's no reversed faces, and that's something I'll go through in another video. Okay, but this is a good, well-made mesh model. Okay, you can use lots of different software to make geometry for 3D printing. But Blender is a very useful tool for it. Okay, so let's select the person sitting down, hold shift and click the frame and the seat and the table. So I've got these 3 objects selected. I'm going to go to File, Export, STL, and I'm going to say, I'm going to call this Booth Design 01. And selection only, export STL. Let's import our model. Import and select Booth Design 1 STL. And let's slice this. Okay, it's all looking great, but we do have this warning. It seems Object Booth Design has floating regions. So the way that we can resolve this issue is we can choose to enable support. Okay, so now if we press slice play again, you can see that it makes these supports which support the overhanging table. Okay, and this is going to work really well, but we can see the bevels on the seat. Okay, and if we drag this slider, we can see how the print will be printed. So I'm going to press print, and here is a time lapse of the Bambu Labs A1 Mini printing out our model. So I'd like to encourage you to have a go at making your own booth. I think you can see how exciting it is to print out some of the structures that you might be using as part of your designs. So it's a very useful tool. So thanks for watching. I hope you do enjoy having a go yourself, and I will see you soon.